I just got asked by my mum if I have anything negative, and my first reaction was, yeah, of course I do. And she was like, no, 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 I don't mean in terms of do you have any bad traits? I mean, do you ever feel anything negative? Is anything ever perceived as negative to you? And I thought this was a really interesting question, especially had a very interesting year and a half, which my mum has very closely witnessed. And I was like, heck yeah. But what happens, in my view, is that so something happens to us in the physical, and then we have our emotions to it, our feelings. And those feelings we might think or feel that sucks. We might feel pain, we might feel grief, we might feel sadness. It might be whatever it is that we see as negative. And I say you absolutely have to feel those feelings, but there's another layer to it. So you have what physically happened in the middle, which is very neutral. It just happened, cause and effect. It's just nature, it just happened. And then the layer out of that is our feelings towards it. That felt bad, that felt good. And then above that, you have what you feel about how you feel. There's like this. It's as if you're observing. It's this extra layer on the outside. I feel sad. Now, inherently, there is nothing wrong, nothing bad with feeling sad. And in our more primitive years as a species, we probably felt this emotion and we didn't have the cognitive function, that real human, the bit that makes us human, the more evolved part of us, making any judgments about it. We just felt sad, we felt it, we released it. It was all held in our being. But nowadays, we have all these judgments about how we feel and how we should feel in certain scenarios. So we have the neutral, physically what actually happened, and then we have the primitive feelings, which are also quite neutral. They just happen. It occurs in our body. It's basically it's also quite neutral, but it's like the feeling version of neutral. So everything is made up of physical matter, and then that physical matter is made up of energy. So the first core part that we see as physical, it just happens. And then there's a feeling part around it that also is neutrally charged. There's nothing good or bad about it. And then we have the bit around the middle, how we feel about how we feel. And this is very unique to humans. This is all to do with our more evolved parts, our cognitive function. And this is where we start to get problems. This is where if you've heard about other manifestation teachers or psychologists or whatever you may listen to, this is what they're talking about when they say your story dictates your beliefs and your reality, and it all sits in this cognitive function, this more evolved part of us. So if we change the way how we feel about what's happening, we will feel so much better. And that part is something that we can control. We can't control how we feel, that middle part of the circle. If you think of it a bit like a bullseye being the physical reality, the next circle being how we feel about it, which again just naturally instantaneously happens. And the outer layer is what we add onto it, what we feel, the judgments we make, the story we make, the beliefs we create about ourselves, given that that just happened in front of us or to us. So this outer layer is really, we can't control the other two, but we absolutely can control the outer layer. So it's all about how you feel about how you feel, what judgments you make about how your body feels. And this is basically, this outer rung is where we want to operate. When we feel like something bad or negative happens to us, we can't change how we feel, and we don't want to either. The more we feel into how we feel, those negative parts, those bits that we're kind of quite scared of, this is where the clearing happens. We have to go into it in order to feel it, but we don't want to get stuck there. And how you don't get stuck there is by keeping in touch with that outer layer. And that outer layer basically says, even when bad things happen to me, it's to show me that there's a weakness. So that's how I think about it anyway. So something good happens. A lot of people don't need a lot of help with that, but I still apply this framework to when something good happens as well. So when something bad happens, we feel it. So there's the physical thing of it happening, and we get a strong reaction to it. So this other person may not get a strong reaction to the physical thing that just happened. So that's how we know that it's our feelings. And it's our feelings because we suddenly have this big judgment, or we feel a sensation in our body, or we feel like we have to constrict, or there's a big ache, or there is a pain. So we know that that is our emotional body reacting to something physical that just happened. And that, to me, isn't a signal, isn't a chance to go, woe is me, my life is hard, I feel in pain, I feel sad. It's a chance for me to go, hang on, there is a weakness here. There is something that I don't know how to protect myself from. How can I learn to protect myself from it? So what part of me is hurt, and how can I enjoy this part and protect this genuine part of me in future? And that observation, that mindfulness only happens on that very outer circle. So we can either use that outer circle to go, why is this happening to me? Bad things always happen to me. Or we can use that outer circle to go, okay, I feel this way, and this means that there is a part of me that I have been neglecting. How can I soften and hold this part? And then how can I take this part with me in future so that this doesn't happen again? And so this is really where we start to nurture ourselves and heal ourselves and not see anything as good or bad. Just as something happened, it has shown us something about ourselves, and we have an ability to lift that place out of the darkness. And I would say that this is the place where faith lives, because you don't need faith when things are going well. You need that outer layer, that faith when things aren't feeling good. So it's only, to me, it's only in this outer layer that you can heal. When you hold on, even a small part of you holds on faith, holds on hope, you're basically holding on to that higher rung on the ladder. And as long as you've got one hand, not all of you has to be there. As long as you've got one hand on the higher rung, your body is realizing that there is a place that exists that is not just in that negative feeling. If we allow ourselves to collapse, to bully ourselves when something bad happens and kind of go inwards and go, oh, everything sucks and everything bad happens to me and nothing's going to change, then we are fitting all of ourselves into that primitive feeling bubble. And what happens is we start to identify it with it, and we get stuck. We get stuck because our body starts to believe that there is nothing else. So there's this sense of there is only this pain, and that there is nothing else, there is nowhere else to go. And that's where people get stuck, because they start to identify with the pain. They forget about that primitive layer, that really unique, human, powerful layer that exists on the outside of those primitive feelings. They forget that they have a choice. They forget that they can see things differently, and they forget that they can disidentify with these deep feelings that they feel. And the more you can learn to do this with both good and bad, the better, because good and bad are two sides of the same coin. So you can't have good without bad. So you want to disidentify with really, really good stuff that happens. Like, absolutely appreciate that it happens in the moment, but understand that it doesn't mean anything about you. And this is really why people who are really stuck on achievement will feel really low as well, because they are burning both ends of the candle. They are really trying to get to the good. They're making good the best thing ever. But the more you create good, the deeper you create bad. So what you want to do is level these out so that there is no good and bad, there just is. And you can enjoy it in the moment and then let it go in the moment. It doesn't build anything to your story, to your perception of who you are or what you can do or what you can't do. So as long as you have one hand on this outer rung, this outer layer, the more confident and stable you're going to feel, and your body is going to be able to go, hang on, there is this bad stuff here, but at least a slither of me remembers that there is a more neutral part, there's a bigger picture. And what happens is the more you start to identify with that bigger picture, the sense of no matter what happens, there is always something more nurturing that's happening, or there is always a bigger picture. You don't identify with that middle feelings layer. And when you don't identify it, you allow yourself to feel it, which momentarily really hurts. You fully sink into it, but then it releases. And that's how you grow to the next level. That's how you've up-leveled. That's essentially like how you quantum leap as well, because you're letting go of the old stuff and you're acting more on the new stuff. And the more that you do this, the more you're going to be able to do it very quickly and easily, and the more your reality is going to change as well. And it's a cycle. It happens in layers. So what happens is you clear that negative stuff, you feel more whole, you've learned what happened, you've learned why you hurt, and you now know how to protect yourself. And so now you can show up in new areas where you feel good. So now your reality is going to slightly change, even if it's slightly. And that's going to start making you feel uncomfortable again because it exposes more areas. And then that means that it is showing you even more areas that you are not feeling strong in or protected in. And the cycle is going to happen again. You're going to get these big rush of feelings, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And the whole cycle is going to happen again, which is why the more that we can build this picture of whatever happens to me isn't about me, the more stable we're going to feel. We're not going to keep going in a really tight loop of, oh, I just managed to feel strong in myself, but now I'm down again. Now something else happened and I'm getting sucked back into those feelings and forgetting about that bigger picture, forgetting about that outer layer, forgetting about that higher rung on the ladder. What's going to happen is people who are enlightened have through practice, have built this stable sense of whatever happens to me, I can enjoy it as it comes, but I also know it's going to go no matter how good, no matter how bad. And that is how you create inner peace, a sense of stability. And it really does not mean that you don't feel happiness, you don't feel sadness. Basically what happens is you feel deep gratitude or you feel deep compassion. And those are two beautiful emotions. We don't feel, a lot of what we believe is happy right now is just anxiety, a momentary relief from, oh, thankfully something bad didn't happen. So we want to start getting rid of this idea of good or bad and really start to tap into this inner level sense, this kind of, no matter what I think, no matter what happens, I am okay. The way I be is okay. It is going to take me through everything that I need. I don't actually need money. I don't need friends. I don't need all these material things. I don't need to talk. I don't need to not talk. I can just be. Whatever comes up in the moment, I let it come up and I release it, no matter what my ego tries to tell me, whether, oh, anger is bad. Anger is not bad. Anger, the flip side of anger is passion. It is creation. We can't do anything without the essence of anger because it is literally life force energy. It is what creates. So there is no good or bad. There is no good or bad emotion or thing that happens. And there is always a choice to expand beyond the feelings that you are feeling bogged down by. So I hope this helped. And if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. And I absolutely love to hear your comments as well. If you're going through anything that I can help with, I'd love to start interacting with you guys more, creating more videos that you need. If not, I'll just keep sharing. I'll do what I can, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you, my loves.